Welcome to episode 31 of the Unstoppable podcast with special guest Michael Devlin. My name is Dan J. Gregory and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life? Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Unstoppable podcast. In the previous episode, we heard from Dr. Julian Hosp and learned how he left his medical career behind, became a professional athlete, and then built a 7-figure business. Be sure to check it out. Now, regardless of whether you're a startup or an established business, I know how hard it can be to get success online. I also understand how daunting online marketing and social media can appear. But in today's show, our special guest, award-winning digital marketer Michael Devlin, breaks down those barriers to show you that you do not need huge budgets to skyrocket your sales online. Michael is an e-commerce rock star with over a decade of experience, having personally built multiple 7-figure e-commerce stores and generated over £5 million in sales in the UK and $14 million for his clients in the US. In 2015, Michael sold the intellectual property rights and patents for his Core 150 product in a 7-figure deal, following a period of huge growth where his product sold just under 500,000 units inside of just 36 months across 28 different countries. What began as an Amazon product quickly turned into a phenomenal commercial success and a hugely recognizable brand with a loyal global fan base. In today's show, we go deep into what it takes to build an online brand and create a profitable e-commerce business on Amazon. And we'll be talking about how to build consumer trust, deliver awesome customer service, and how to implement strategies to ensure that you build a profitable business with a solid base of loyal customers. Let's jump into the show. I'm ready to rock. Well, big welcome to Michael. Michael, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
And pleasure to be here, dude.
Awesome. And we've been on a journey to get this episode set up, and I'm really excited for the session. Michael, could you give the guests a bit of a frame for exactly what you do right now with your business?
At this moment in time, on a recap, well, just at this moment in time, I'm currently in the process of just ready to launch a new software as a service system which helps e-commerce marketers bring products to market, help with tools with competitive analysis to find out what products are actually selling, to track the products, so on and so forth, using and harnessing the power of Amazon. We're also in the process of launching Mass Conversions, which is my complete education academy to take you from top to bottom in terms of scalability for a physical product in e-commerce.
Amazing. And I know you've had some phenomenal success with Amazon. I'd love to really get into that in a moment. But before you started your e-commerce journey, what was your first beginnings in terms of stepping into the world as an entrepreneur?
I've been self-employed pretty much since I was 18. So going back, it's going back a fair shout now. You're making me feel old now. Yeah. I'm trying to get the recollection going here. So, I mean, I've been self-employed since that time. First online business was back in 2006. I've been studying marketing since 1999. I was always interested in it, the whole funnel aspect of things, mostly through mail dropping. And I used to buy the F1 cars, you know, the wheels, and then you would get the spoiler and you'd get the body kit. So I was familiar with the funnel. That used to always intrigue me. So I was always really interested in the sales process online, but didn't really launch my first e-commerce business until 2006, which was in the sports nutrition world. And I built that from 0 to 2.8 million inside 3 years. And that was subsequently acquired by a company in Boston, which was one of the largest supplement distributors at that time.
Wow. So how did that come about? I mean, how did you decide on the product and how did you take it to the market?
Well, I was actually selling third-party products at that time, so branded name products like Optimum Nutrition, BSN, all your big brands. And then I was self-taught in paid search and search engine optimization. So I began to index all of the brands at the top of search. So that was where a lot of the success came from. I used to keep fit and look after. Well, I've always kept fit and looked after myself. I feel that it's a huge part of entrepreneurship, healthy body, healthy mind, and all that sort of stuff. Really, really important to fuel yourself in the right levels. And I would that's where the whole idea for the sports nutrition e-commerce movement came. And yeah, it was a great. It was an amazing education process, but it was also it was a very, very steep learning curve for me, which I'll go into as we get into the interview, because it wasn't all roses, let me tell you.
Awesome. That brings us nicely on to the next bit. But in terms of that initial start then, so you were using branded products that already existed, third-party products, and then you would use different marketing strategies to drive traffic. Was that your Amazon store you were driving traffic to at that point?
It was an e-commerce store at that point, and then I quickly realised that the shopping carts wouldn't behave well. I started to understand bounce rate, and it was all down to the fixed shopping carts, and it's still the exact same to this day. So many people in e-commerce have never actually bought anything from themselves. So it's one of the first things I ask an e-commerce student when they come to me and they're like, "Oh, my website's not really performing that well, and my conversion rate isn't good." I said, "Have you actually bought anything from your website?" No. And I'm like, well, how do you know what the shopping experience is like? So some of these carts are a little bit fixed. They've got long page sequences, and that's what was happening to me. And then I quickly discovered the importance of optimizing the checkout process. So I got a custom checkout process done, and our conversion rate just went right off the scale at that point. So that was a real learning curve for me. And when you're dealing with paid pay-per-click, you have to get your conversion rate on point, or you will melt your credit card very, very quickly.
So talk to me about that first major brand then, in terms of that third, when you sold your brand for, did you say it was $2.8 million?
We built it to $2.8 million, and then we had one of the largest sports nutrition manufacturers and wholesalers who were based in Boston, second after bodybuilding.com at that time, round about 2008. Wow. And they had come in and acquired that e-commerce store. They were in acquisition mode and buying a lot of e-commerce stores, and we had a major foothold in the UK and e-commerce market. But again, when they had come into us, we were selling all branded products. And then what started to happen was all the branded products started to pull the brands in-house. So we had all these pages indexed and SEO are right at the top using search engine optimization strategies, and had all of these pay-per-clicks campaigns running. Of course, once you're indexed from a search engine optimization point of view, your pages are anchored there, and there's a lot of work went into getting the pages listed. It's fine with paid search, you can turn that off. All of those hours were all dead, because literally when all the brands started to pull their brands back in-house, we had pages that had to serve up 404s or redirect to the homepage, for example. So wow. We lost all the indexing on them, which really, really impacted on the turnover of the business. And of course, I was retained as the head of marketing in that business, online marketing. So it was a real eye-opener for me. Thankfully, I didn't own the company at that time when all of that started to happen. And at that point, it was a lesson for me that private labeling and branded products was, and I use those two words sparingly, because private labeling kind of is branding, but you really want to private label with a view to building a brand, and that's where the eye-opener came for me at that point.
So what have some of the biggest challenges been upon your e-commerce journey so far?
Biggest challenges in e-commerce is getting your traffic correct. There's so many sources now, but then there really was only Google, Yahoo, and those were your search engines at that point where you were driving most of your traffic. The traffic wasn't, social media wasn't around. In terms of social, it was forums. Remember, back in the day, I'm keep using that term, absolutely. Back in the day, too much these days, but back in the day, it was forums where you would go in and you would create your links and you would have topical discussion points. So in terms of the strategies and methods, everything's quite the same. It's only different. It's different platforms now, where it's Facebook, Twitter, but the behaviors are still the same for indexing. But they're using social signals now. The landing pages are now called squeeze funnels. So everything has got all of these different names, but the processes of getting traffic are more or less the same. But back then, it was mostly the search engines that were your traffic drivers.
Great. And what happened then once you moved on from that business? What came
Private
next?
labeling for me, and again, I identified how exposed you were of going SEO all out for other people's brands, and one of the biggest players, what I started to notice again in search was Google was favouring all of the Amazon pages. So I then started to notice that rather that you couldn't out-index Amazon because of its indexing power. So at that moment in time, I just decided that then I'm not going to compete with this beast. I'm going to harness the credit card holdings within there, and that's really when the success and the whole approach for us in terms of e-commerce changed at that point. We didn't really want to build our own e-commerce presence. We could harness creating real cool brands and putting them inside Amazon, and that's the first thing I did, which was a sports nutrition brand, and we built that, we put that inside Amazon, and that again was acquired in 2011. So we started to go through this whole identifying if you do build the brand and push forward and do all the things right by your customers, you are noticed by the competition and you will get acquired.
Wow. I mean, there's so many discussion points I want to get into on this, but before I get into some of the nuggets around what it takes to be successful with Amazon, for example, tell me, there's so many different vehicles that people can step into now for wealth and business building. Who is an Amazon or an e-commerce business for?
An e-commerce business is not for those who want a lifestyle business. Now, I'm so glad that you raised that, Dan, because there's so many courses out there right now that are telling you that you can build a 7-figure Amazon business in 6 weeks. Well, you can learn the foundations of what it takes to get a product to market, which is you do this, you do that, and there's breadcrumb trails of where you go that can get you up to a certain point of being listed on Amazon. But again, over the last 3 months, Amazon has changed. The landscape is completely unrecognizable. And e-commerce, if you're going into, if it is a lifestyle business, then perhaps use branded products to list on Amazon to get your feet wet, to understand, is this for you? Understand the margins, understand what it takes to manage and control stock. And if it is really for you, then you can switch and use that customer base that you're building and switch it into your own private label product. But do not think for a minute that it is a hands-off business to a certain degree. But when you start to build a brand, you're very hands-on, and the hands-on aspect of it is in the social aspect of where you have to get that one-to-one relationship with the customer on point. So I really need to get that across to the listeners that e-commerce, sticking a product on Amazon and just thinking that it's going to fly, that's not going to happen.
And it's really interesting. I remember being at one of these multi-speaker business events, and there was someone speaking. I won't mention who they were. It was actually a very good presentation. But I remember there was flocks of people running to buy this course, which was going to teach people to become wealthy on Amazon. And I just looked around at the people running to the back of the room, and we've all been to those types of events where that happens for all kinds of different courses and products. But I just thought you didn't come to this event thinking I'm going to become an Amazon retailer. So what makes you think in an instant that you're now going to be a successful entrepreneur on Amazon? Surely there has to be you must have a certain desire to build that type of business before you just make an instant decision that's the future of your entrepreneurial career. And it was just really interesting. And I think when people are making decisions about what kind of business to enter into, they need to understand that there is no quick fix in any business model. And yes, there are some rapid success stories within any industry, but you have to be ready to take things seriously. And that's why I think it's important, and it's really insightful to hear your perspective in terms of who it's for, because it's so important. If you're going to step into this as an entrepreneur, and if you do want it as a lifestyle business, there's certain things you need to be sure of to manage your expectations in terms of what's required to be successful. Because even if you want to build a lifestyle business, which is, building for the listeners who aren't aware what that means, it's building a business and an income stream that funds your lifestyle. You still need to be prepared to put in the work to make it successful. And there's no such thing as an overnight success story. So I really appreciate you answering that.
And it's really important as well, Dan, that a lot of people understand the metrics and the numbers and the conversion rate and the cost of profit, cost of goods, and the volatilities in e-commerce. So there's a lot of screen shares out there that are saying, 300 grand a month or 100 grand a month. But what nobody does in those screen shares is tell you what that profit yield was. Was it 8%? Was it 4%? Was it 40%? Because you can easily go on and get a £40 or a $40 product on Amazon and blow it out through the deal sites, which will instantly give you that sales trajectory and make you look like you're the guru. But what is happening is there's a lot of people doing that, and they're getting people, they're releasing courses and getting people in on the false pretense that there's a massive 40% margin in there. They're showing you the process of bringing a product to market based on numbers that are volatile. Those numbers, they're not diving into the numbers, they're not drilling into them. And that is why with Mass Conversions, which is our new education academy, and our new Amazon course, which is the Sons of Amazon, inside Mass Conversions, we dive into it, and it's over 12 months. We're taking the students on a journey over 12 months of how I'm going to be building 10 individual brands from scratch and showing you the volatilities that are involved in there. Yes, there is six-figure businesses. Yes, I have seven-figure students, but these seven-figure students are holding 600 grand worth of stock. So it's important that we, as the educators and the course deliverers, they understand that they've got a due diligence to let that student know, because some people are going in there, and I use the word student with the greatest deal of respect, because they are kind of students, but I will call them, online partners as such. But there's people going in there, they're releasing money from their mortgages, they're reading entrepreneur books that says, go ahead, go in there and quit your job right now. Well, you can't really do that in today's modern world. You've got bills to pay, you've got kids to feed, you've got wives to look after, and you really need to do things clever. So stay inside your job. By all means, put in the extra hours at night time and do the education. And once the wheels start to turn and your passive income starts to overtake your main income, then you can leave your job. Don't think that you have to go in and be the entrepreneur. And there's all about taking risk, but for me, it's calculated risk. Just make sure that you're safeguarded. You really have to make sure that. There's too many people preaching the wrong stuff. It's dangerous.
I'd like to get into some of the key steps that people need to take to be successful. But before we do that, what are some of the main opportunities right now when it comes to Amazon? And also the second point to that is, similarly, what are the pitfalls right now? So let's start with the opportunities. What are the kind of key opportunities when it comes to building an Amazon business?
The massive opportunities with Amazon is Amazon's looking for brand behavior. And now, when you go on and you go on and you list a product on Amazon, of course you don't have a massive budget. You don't have the same budget as Under Armour, Nike, and Gillette and all these other. But that's really not what I'm meaning. What I'm meaning with building a brand and giving Amazon the right brand signals is having the social structure correct, having all of that stuff professionally done, making sure that you're sharing the links across the right places and engaging with your customers, running paid traffic. So you have to understand all of that. And that's one of the parts of Mass Conversion, which is the new training academy, is that we don't upsell. Once you're registered in there, there's no upsell. So it's one of the things that a lot of coaches I see doing, which is another thing that doesn't work in e-commerce, is upselling all the time. Now, marketer to marketer, normally what they'll do is they'll give you an opt-in, and if you want to learn more, it's this price, and if you want to learn more about that, it's this price. What they're doing is they're suffocating your expansion fund almost, or your growth fund, or your scale fund for your products. So I don't want to do that with my students. I want to say, once you're in, you're in. And if I bring out a Facebook course, you can watch that and adopt that into your business. A Twitter course, you can watch that and apply that into your business. So all of those strategies should be a 1-year cycle for you to come in and apply all of those strategies to scale your business. Because ultimately, if I'm taking money for education, how are you meant to scale your business? Right? But so the opportunities inside Amazon right now, to answer your question, is there is no better time, not just on Amazon, because Amazon's only one part of the jigsaw, but for you to build a brand and get that brand relationship with the consumers and the social channels. The opportunity is absolutely immense. It is incredible.
Awesome. And talk to me a little bit about the social channels, and firstly in terms of the importance of those channels, but then what does a strong brand presence on social look like in the e-commerce world?
Well, is how often is your link being shared? Are you being retweeted? How many times is your brand being mentioned? What is the conversation signals like? How much traffic are you driving in? Are you driving traffic in on discount codes, or are you driving it in to convert proper paid search traffic? And Amazon is identifying all of this now, and that's what's happening with all of these courses, is they're giving you a one-size-fits-all. So it's very easy for Amazon as a product engine to identify these groups or these hordes of people all doing the same thing, and then they just compress or sandbox your listing. So this is why you have to be different. One size doesn't fit all. The approach fits all. One size, a particular approach will fit everybody because we're all running up to the same runway. But once you get there, we'll all be in different niches, and that will all require different interactions on different social platforms, because our our consumers will be congregating in different areas. And that ultimately is what brand behavior is all about.
And what are some of the major pitfalls right now then? I know we had a discussion on Friday about the death of the death of private label on Amazon. What does that mean?
I got a lot of inboxes with that, with that little clip that I put up. Well, really what I meant with that is you can no longer just private label a product and sit it on Amazon and hope that it's going to index you and people are just going to come and buy it. You need to get the sleeves rolled up. You need to look at the social behavior of the brand. You need to get the interaction with the consumer. You have to get your traffic ready and start to be driving your traffic perimeters in, whether it be through Google paid search, Facebook, Twitter ads, Instagram. These are all the perimeters that you have to learn. So this whole Amazon gold rush isn't going to happen. Because Amazon, if you just sit your product on there, you imagine how many products that are competing for that consumer's attention. And Amazon wants to, the same way as what Google wants to serve the most relevant page to a search topic, Amazon wants to serve the most relevant and also the most popular product to a buying customer. So this is what's happening now with the shopping engine, is it's recognizing the difference between people who are gaming the system and people who are actually trying to build a brand. And Amazon identifies this right across, so it's scoring you across all of the platforms, and it will identify the brands that are driving traffic inside, and it will identify the reason why you're driving that traffic in there. Is it to game its keywords, or is it actually to get a conversion? So very, very clever setup. I've spoken to the marketing team inside. I've spoken to the engineers. I've got friends that work inside Amazon, and this is what Amazon is looking for right now: is proper brand behavior and signals from real users and real devices.
I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, when you look at either the physical product market or the digital product market, there's always been throughout time at the beginning of a new kind of wave of opportunity, whether it's a new platform or a new method of marketing, there's always that beginning wave where people are looking for the shortcut that will create an instant return. And there's always people that, as we've already kind of partially discussed, that will get a result through doing that. But it's never sustainable. You can never game the big platforms and get long-term success. Yes, you might be able to get an instant hit, but no one remembers the people who got the instant hits because they're not sustainable as entrepreneurs because they lose the trust. And I think building a sustainable brand is the same whether it's a physical product or a digital product. It's important to get that brand trust, creating awareness of your brand and your products, and building true relationships with your end clients and adding real value. And it's really refreshing to hear that, and it's really interesting. The physical product world in terms of the Amazon world is not an area I've personally had exposure for. So I was really excited about this conversation to learn more for myself, and that's really key. So I'm really interested to know if someone was considering beginning an Amazon business right now, for example. What should be the first thing they do? Is it select a product? How does someone go about identifying how to start in this type of business model?
Well, first of all, Dan, I mean, I can give all of the listeners free access to Profits Engine, where we have a keyword-driven competitive analysis, if you want, where we will reverse engineer any product that's on Amazon right now through keywords, long tail keywords, just search phrase, key terms, whatever, and it will bring you back the best selling products in that niche, and you can track them. So if you've got 10 ideas, you can see what the ones are all behaving like. You'll see their sales daily in real time. You'll be able to see if the price drops, the price increases, and it will also show you the actual seller rank as well, which is how popular that product is inside the Amazon platform. And if there's something there that tickles your fancy in terms of, yeah, that's a niche that I'm really interested in because I'm passionate about it, or that's something I want to go into, is you can then take that product, and you can do two things at this point. You can take a product that's already established, a brand, if you have permission to do so, then sell it on Amazon as a retail arbitrage type approach, or a third party seller as such, and understand the metrics of Amazon, play the game. Then you can go over and then private label. And once you private label, you then want to get your brand name together. You then want to get your website together, of which Profits Engine will give you your own free website with your own free domain name as well. So that's one of the signals that Amazon looks for. And you can launch your product literally in a few months. But if you're going to play the game and you've never done it before, we've got many techniques inside Mass Conversions that will let you understand many ways that you can come to market on Amazon, playing without massive risk, rather than going and committing to 25,000 units or 5,000 units and never really played the game, and you really are on the back foot So that's what I would give the best piece of advice to anyone that's wanting to kick this whole e-commerce journey off. It is an amazing time and opportunity right now, but get yourself in with the right movement and the right congregation of people, and I can assure you will go from strength to strength.
That's really interesting. I mean, last night, it's just interesting. I spent the weekend away, and whenever I travel, I take I'm a pretty strong sleeper, but whenever I travel, I'm really affected by like bright lights. So if I'm sleeping somewhere and the curtains or the blinds are very thin, there's a message to this tangent. But I always take these face masks with me, to sleeping masks, and I've had mine for years, and it's kind of getting a bit worn out now. So last night I was lying in bed, trying to identify on Amazon the ultimate sleeping mask. And I was just fascinated by how many products there were listed there. But what's quite interesting is that, you've got the top products who have got, say, 1,000+ reviews, and you've got people at the bottom who have got just a trickle of reviews. How important is it to generate that kind of interest in terms of that population of reviews when it comes to building your product store?
This is another. This is going to start me off on a tangent now, Dan. There's one of these misconceptions right now, and there's this topic that Twitter is dying, or Twitter's shares are not performing, or whatever. Twitter is the best platform for driving communication, two-way communication. It's the only social platform where I can go on and jump into a conversation in real time right now of a topic that surrounds a product I'm selling. And that is social media. If you can dive in there and say, if you imagine you tweeted, because Twitter is a Tourette's of the mind, just to look at Twitter in isolation real quick, and it goes in topic and in line with what I'm talking about and what your problem was. And you tweeted when you got up this morning, couldn't sleep last night because there was a bright light outside my window, and I had a sleep aid. So the first keyword I would look for inside Twitter is sleep, or topical, which would be sleep. And if I seen your tweet come up, I would say, hey Dan, seen you couldn't sleep last night, here's a discount code for my product on Amazon, or why don't you go try it, or retweet to win it, there's competition happening tomorrow. So there's a prime example. If I can then engage you, you will follow me, and immediately you then start that relationship with the brand. So there's just an instance how quickly we can start that journey process of brand interaction and growing it.
Amazing. And in terms of that kind of interaction, then that seems quite a kind of manually intensive process. Are there methods of automation in terms of that?
Can I just get round to that as well, Dan? And to answer your question, yes. Reviews aren't as important as conversions. Conversions are what is what drives Amazon. Amazon is a shopping engine. Amazon gets a percentage of every sale. Just because you've got the most reviews and our algorithm inside Profits Engine identifies that, doesn't mean that you're the number one seller. And just because you're organically indexed for a key term doesn't make you the number one seller in that category. So I need to be clear that your listeners understand that. And there is no such thing as getting away from the pickaxe. You have to dig for gold.
Yes.
So forget about it. There's certain parts that you can automate, absolutely. But to really get to the nitty-gritty, consumers, when they're on their everyday life and you're on Twitter and you're on Facebook, they don't want a robot. They don't want spammed. They don't want a spam tweet. They want conversed with a real person. And if you can imagine doing that just for 10 people per day, and you're selling a 50 quid product with 25 quid profit in there, or $25, $50 product, immediately, you're running at $250 profit, £250 profit per day. Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. There's some significant gains, and I guess the automated side comes more from the paid traffic and the search engine rankings that you. But there's
a run-up process to that as well. You just don't want to trigger paid traffic, and again, this is another method that we show you how we can get your cost per click from 120 down to around about 3 pence, and it's all through the retargeting. It's in the empower the brand. Building a brand on Amazon, the power is in retention. These people who are private labeling products and sticking them on Amazon and getting that one purchase, you find a niche that nobody else has found, and you build a 6-figure brand, and you're like, that dude Devlin, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I just made 6 figures. So I just turned over 6 figures on Amazon. You might get that, but the point that I'm trying to get to is that those customers that have just bought that product in Amazon are Amazon's customers. They're not yours. So you have to get them out of Amazon. You have to find ways that are inside Amazon's terms of service to get that customer and that user base out of Amazon and into your own ecosystem, whether that be on social, whether that be via your own website, whether that be on the retention through social again. And these are all of the things that we teach you as that transitional point. You need to get that customer out and into your own ecosystem. Otherwise, all you have is turnover in Amazon. And if Amazon changed the game, which it's done, similar to Google, when Google switched and brought out its whole plethora of zoo-like updates, penguin and panda and whatever else, it changed the entire landscape for products that were indexed. Amazon's doing the same thing. So honestly, guys, if you want to take that risk, then be my guest. But for me, that's not marketing, it's not building a brand, and that is not how you will have a sustainable, long-term, and most importantly, an acquirable e-commerce business.
That's a good point. I mean, firstly, the sustainability thing is such a key issue in any business model. I think, the amount of times I've made one-off purchases on Amazon and ended up not within someone's community or even aware of the brand, to be honest. Looking, for example, my mobile phone case, which I recently purchased, I haven't even got a clue what the brand is. Whereas the successful brands, whether it's offline physical products or online stores or digital products, they will enable you to connect at a deeper level with the brand. So, for example, I'm on a lot of different mailing lists. I follow a large number of different people and brands on Facebook, and those people who have captured my attention, captured my details, are able to then build a long-term relationship with me. And it goes beyond then just the phone case. It might be then they offer me other alternative complementary products over a period of time.
It's a great point to bring up, Dan, because it's all about, you can use Amazon as a lead magnet as well, which is an attractive offer inside the platform. And if your retention game and you're with the right marketers who show you how to retain that customer, you can then use the retention angle to upsell them into a higher purchase of your product within your brand. So when you're starting off your product, and when we say the difference between private label and a brand is when you're private labeling a product, which you're, okay, I like that, I'm going to stick a logo on there. Or if you've got a brand is brand building potential of a product. So can I bring out a secondary product that will play into the hands of the same user base? That is what brand building is. So, for example, the phone case that you mentioned, I might have had a unbreakable or a rubber phone case that you can drop it, and no matter what, it won't scratch your screen. So there would have been my upsell. Maybe it was $49 or £50. That would have been, so I'd have sold you a phone case at maybe $15.99 and upsold you into my SAS phone case, which is just, these are names I'm making up, guys. I'm not even in the phone case market. So this is the unbreakable phone case, right? No matter what way you drop it, it's just going to bounce forever. So I would have upsold you in there, but that would have been an easy process because you would have known who I am. But that has to be done in quite a quick succession, because if I don't, in today's fast moving pace, the customer will forget about it.
So what would you say the three kind of main keys to success are right now in the market as it is?
For Amazon or e-commerce in general?
I think for Amazon firstly, and then if you'd like to extend it to e-commerce, if there's any distinctions, that'd be great to hear.
I think that there's no better time to validate a product than on the world's largest shopping engine, which is Amazon. Bring a product to market, validate that consumer base, that user base, and then transition that into the world of e-commerce by growing your brand, offering different products and services, and taking your time and learning to become a great marketer by mastering one platform at a time. Master Amazon, master the paid search inside there. Take all of the data that you're finding out in paid search and all the keywords, and then migrate them over into Facebook. Do the work inside Facebook. Great. Master Facebook. Then move on into Twitter. You might start in Twitter first and then move over into Facebook. Honestly, guys, there's no better time, and I get a little bit excited and passionate about it, but maybe I'm just a different animal. But come into the movement and just let's do it. There's no better time.
That leads us nicely into the next kind of part of the discussion is in terms of being that kind of animal, that entrepreneurial animal. What would you say is the winning mindset for being successful when it comes to e-commerce? How does someone need to think when it comes to approaching the business?
I want to be the best at serving my customer. That's it. If you're the best at servicing your customer and focus on who you serve, each and every time, it is how Amazon wins. Success leaves clues. How many times have we heard that through the books that we've read, Dan? But for the listeners who are on today, I would definitely say that if you focus on who you serve, customer service on Amazon is just number one. The reason why people go back to Amazon is because if they've got a problem, they get refunded, so on and so forth. That's brand loyalty, it's brand trust. If you do the same and you treat your customers with the same respect, regardless of whether you're in information products, physical products, doesn't matter what you serve or what you do, you will never, ever, ever be able to outmaneuver or outsell customer service.
What markets are you working in at the moment?
With 220 students and that are about to go into the 800 mark, I think I'm in pretty much every vertical right now.
Wow.
But mostly e-commerce, and I've got a lot of information products. But the listeners should know that I've went from selling physical products or other branded products, third-party branded products rather, to private labeling, to then invention. And my previous product that I built to a 7-figure brand across 26 countries inside 24 months was a sports bottle that I combined with storage inside the shaker bottle itself, because everyone was going on about, again, this was looking at social signals and listening to what your consumers are talking about, is that everybody was complaining about the ability to travel with your sports nutrition and take an exact serving. So I invented a bottle that allowed you to do that, and that just took off and exploded. And again, that became a wholly online product, just a complete movement to 100,000 social followers, you name it. I haven't been involved with that brand now for just over a year because it was acquired back in April 2015. But that's how easy that this can happen. You can start off with just an idea in e-commerce, all the way into to private labeling, to finding and identifying an issue by listening to your consumer, and then you move into product inventorship, and that's when you become really acquirable because you've got intellectual property. And don't get me wrong, guys, I've proven it. You can become acquirable by just selling private label products. I've did that also. So if you've got if your customer service is strong enough and you've got the best game face and game plan on inside your niche and inside your marketplace, you become very attractive to the other players that are in that field.
I would say that's probably one of the distinct advantages of the e-commerce model, is that ability to acquire. A lot of the entrepreneurs I've had on the show are more of your personal brand type entrepreneurs, where their name is the brand, therefore there's no saleability. If you look at someone like Tony Robbins as a leadership or business guru, he is the brand. Yes, he may, if he wanted to, be able to sell the Unleash the Power Within brand, for example, or maybe some of his products, but really the brand is him. But whereas in this business model, you can create a physical product brand, which gives you that opportunity then to, I guess, cash out by this acquisition process that happens towards the end of the life cycle that you've created.
Well, for example, the business model in the next 2 years may change, where we've got, and I know right now that there is consortiums out there who are looking to acquire the best players inside the Amazon space. So they're only going to acquire brands inside the Amazon space that have got a strong gameplay across the entire internet, and that's socially, not just on Amazon. So building a business, a product business on Amazon is a very acquirable space, but you have to make sure that you've got your game plan rock solid. And to go back to what you were saying, Dan, you cannot automate success. You have to get the pickaxe out. You have to put in the hours.
That's an important lesson in any business model. It's just very interesting to hear how the strategies and the tactics are different from some of the physical businesses to some of the online businesses. It's really interesting. And actually, I remember discovering the business model for the first time when I was back in my corporate career, when I was looking to exit the corporate environment. I read 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss, and read about his product that he'd created. I think it was called Brain Quick, and I don't know if you've read the book or know the product, but he went on to be very successful in selling that.
It's a great recommendation of a book.
Yes, and how the success that he had with that product initially in creating his business. And it's always been fascinating to me in terms of the opportunity available in that space. And there's been some great lessons on the show. So in terms of the future of Amazon, what does the future look like? The
future looks for Amazon is, I think Amazon's going to move into bricks and mortar type environment for click and collect. I think click and collect is going to play a major role in the speed of delivery for consumers. I think that even same-day delivery, Amazon is testing that in London, I know that, and they're doing it in New York, and they're moving into all of those different foodie areas to try and test, your same-day delivery. But I think click and collect will play a big will play a big part in the movement of e-commerce. For example, I know that Sainsbury's recently purchased Argos for the click and collect purchase. Very interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how Walmart makes a play for Amazon's market, who are already geared up for the click and collect process and already has its own fleet of vehicles as well. So it's really good to see Amazon getting a little bit of pressure from other brands and a little bit of a fight back. So great from an e-commerce environment, because that opens up multi-channels for us again and more distribution points for us to sell more products.
Absolutely. That's a gigantic distribution channel.
Huge. Just the UK and the US, it's just crazy.
But also for the end consumer, it just gives them different options in terms of how they like to receive their products.
Again, Dan, going back to what Amazon's model is, Amazon's about diversity. And people say, oh, Amazon could easily put, buy the products and just set Amazon products. Amazon's got its own brand called Basics, Amazon Basics, and it sells household goods and different products, so on and so forth. And people are saying that Amazon's just gathering data and eventually going to call all of those products. It doesn't want that. It wants to be able to offer diversity to consumers, and consumers love diversity. So exactly, and brilliant what you just says is consumers love diversity. And I think with the more channels that open up, you will see consumers voting with their credit cards and bouncing about the big brands. And Walmart has a huge foothold. And people underestimate Walmart. I think Walmart is going to really make a play in the click and collect, and also for Amazon's marketplace very, very quickly.
What I'm interested to know now, Michael, is a little bit about your kind of daily routine. What does a typical day look like in terms of your involvement in this type of business?
Typical is just I'm structured very, very heavily on diary. I work out in the morning so that I've got no disruptions for the rest of the day. Come home, get into the one-on-one coaching calls, because I've got students all over the world. That can be all different times. And then I set a few hours aside to get, if we're launching a new course, get my live calls ready. So it really just is working on a day-to-day basis and what happens. And typically my live calls can be between Thursday and a Sunday, and my coaching calls can be all the way throughout the week. So I really work with best time for my student partners as such, for when's best for them. So I've got two different elements. I've got a virtual course environment where the times are pretty much set, but I've got one-on-one students that are high growth students who I work hands-on with them and intricately work and engineer techniques and strategies for inside their businesses to spike sales.
Wow, I bet it's changed quite a bit since when you were, really, really focused on building the brands. How would a typical day look for someone starting an online e-commerce brand? What would their day look like?
Pretty much the same. You've just got to, if you train and you work out, get it done in the morning, because something's going to just mess up your day. It's really going to piss you off, if I'm allowed to say that. And then you're not going to work out. So you're going to go home in a mood. And then so for example, you're not going to go to the gym thereafter. So I always recommend training in the morning, get that out of the way, sets you up for the rest of the day. But being in e-commerce is exactly the same as, like you say, I am my own brand as such. So my day's set up just as I was back when I was selling e-commerce. The only difference is that my footprint's different. I'm working in e-commerce and physical products with my student and brand partners as such, so it's pretty much the same. So if your guys are going into the e-commerce market, it will be about product research, it will be competitive analysis. When is my stock going to come in? How long is it going to take me to turn around that stock? How fast can I sell it? So they've got a lot to measure up on. But again, if they join the right course and the right movement, of course, I would be delighted to have anybody who wants to send me a message and connect with me. I invite them all to do that, and I'll give them as much advice as I possibly can for free. And if they want to jump into joining up the courses, then I'd be delighted to have them on board, Dan.
Awesome. And in terms of the products itself, just as I'm curious, do you require to carry stock of your products, or is it fulfilled directly by the
Brilliant point. So people have got this say, oh, you don't have to touch any stock, and Amazon FBA looks after everything. Yeah, of course they do. When you're about the 500 unit level, 5,000 unit level, maybe even at the 5,000 unit level, Amazon's a temperamental beast. Imagine the amount of stock that's in there of similar ASINs, which is products, for example. And if there's an issue with one product that gets knocked over, that your product might get confused with, they can lock your entire inventory down until the problem is solved. So you have to have a game plan outside of Amazon, i.e. a distribution center in the US or in the UK that can drip feed your stock into Amazon so that you are risk averse going in. And this is where these other courses that are preaching You can send your stock straight from China and right into Amazon. Amazon has now got quantity restrictions because it's busting at the seams. So again, you've got that other hurdle to look at. And we've got a full network of distribution centres that we've worked with over the last 10 years in e-commerce. But I think you're going to see a massive boom in FBA prep centres because it is an absolute steadfast requirement that you have a hub that you can work with, because you are going to scale when you're working with the best, and you're going to scale relatively quickly. And you want those hubs in place that will hold your stock, prep them, and drip feed your stock into Amazon. So if anything goes wrong and your listing gets shut down in Amazon, you've got your own website and you can start driving traffic from your Facebook, your Pinterest, your Instagram, and your Twitter ads, or your paid search ads in Google.
So there's a lot of moving parts, and I think like any business, it's really critical that you get the right mentors. And who should they look for in a mentor? What are the key characteristics they should look for?
Dan, there's no two ways about it. Is this mentor giving me the truth? Is he telling me how it is? If someone wants to talk to you about numbers but doesn't really want to tell you the actual profit percentage in there, if someone says to you, you will make it with $5,000, then that's just irresponsible. Because if they are the best at what they do, and I believe I'm one of the best at what I do, then I'm going to increase your sales. And $5,000, I'm going to tee you up for actually selling you out and just exhausting your capital. So therefore, you've then got an immediate problem of, how do I replenish my second order? So I would say have enough savings behind yourself, have 15, 20,000 going into this business, start off with $5,000 going in, and making sure you've got enough money for paid search to play about with and give you that oxygen and that altitude level that you can recover if you make a few mistakes, because you will make mistakes when you're buying data, which is keyword data, and play around and get yourself in with the right movement and the right mentor and the right network and the right training. And training that doesn't upsell you and take all of that capital, because you want that capital. You want a little bit of skin in the game, a couple of $1,000, $3,000 for some training, and that's it. Make sure you get into that movement. It's locked down, and if they are the best and all they care about is your results, they should give you all the training as part of that anyway, because there's a bigger picture here, and that is about partnering with you long term as your coach on potential products. Because I want to make the best marketers that are out there, Dan. I want to partner with my students. I want to say, let's do a couple of products together. Now, not a lot of marketers are going to do that. I mean, that's fine. That's their play. But my play is making the best squad I can get and become the best group of marketers and go ahead, because success in numbers, no one ever became a millionaire by being selfish. Not that I'm aware of anyway.
Absolutely. So before we go to the very quick fire round to finalize, you've talked about working out being one of your kind of critical core drivers in the morning. What other habits do you indulge in to help you drive your own personal success forward?
Good diet, really good diet, good support network, a great wife, understanding when to switch off, understand when to be a husband and when to be a dad. I've got two fantastic boys. So yeah, I mean, you've just got to get that balance right. And I think over time, you just get, as long as you're routines, then it can become pretty much second nature. No books can tell you how this thing's going to work. And certainly no mentor can tell you, because everybody's daily life and structure, routine, school runs, sports are all different. So those will all take their own effect. But just regiment yourself and get into a routine and stick to the disciplinary part of your business, and you should be fine.
And you've given a really clear indication in terms of the financial commitment to this type of business to get started. But in terms of a time commitment each day for someone getting started, how much can they expect to spend? How many hours per week would they be necessary to get their business off the ground before they start scaling it to the next kind of 6-7 figure level?
If you're a newbie and you're coming into this business with a job, someone that's still got a 9 till 5, 2, 3, 4 hours at night, 2-3 hours at night, this should be enough for you to pick your way through this and do it right, do it correct. 2 or 3 hours, definitely. I mean, it is as much as that. 2 hours, really. If you can only do 2 hours, then fine. But really, again, it just goes again down to the individual of how fast they pick things up and how quick they learn and how hungry they want it, really. So it could be 1, 2, or 3 hours, really. It's just down to the individual and how bad they want it.
Great stuff. And coming to the final round now, Michael, I've got three questions for you, quick-fire questions. The first is, if you were to start your entrepreneurial journey all over again with everything that you already know now, what would be the first thing that you would do to get started?
I would surround myself with the best mentors, which you've just mentioned. I would make sure that I learn and study and test and measure continuously. To start the entrepreneurial journey is understanding the power of relationships and valuing them. Never ever cut corners and try and get towards success by climbing over someone, because these relationships is what catapults you now, because social media is so tight. And honestly, now, guys, it's just all about relationships and results and being real and doing the right thing.
And the second question is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever personally received?
Is to value relationships. I was really selfish, Dan, when I started out in business. I didn't really come into my own until I was about 35, and I'm 39 now. I'm 40 in December. Can't believe I'm saying that. I think I'm going to turn into Kevin Spacey when I hit that. I'll get the old red Corvette and all that out. But yeah, I remember sitting with a mentor, a good friend of mine, John Patterson, and he was my business partner at the time, and that was before we got acquired. And he's like, you need to start focusing on relationships more, because he's seen how hungry I was just to get success. I was all about the sale, and I was all about building the business quickly, and I didn't really care about the consequences. And he started to train my mind into understanding that these people you're trampling over are potential acquirers. Do the right thing, be aggressive and go after the customer, but never do anything that's got to detriment anybody. And I think you can take from that what you will, but really do it above board, do it white hat, don't cut corners. Growth hack by all means. There's a difference between, white hat and growth hacking and black hat and all that sort of stuff. But really, in all honesty, guys, value the importance of relationships, because that is what can create exits time and time and time again.
Great stuff. And the final question is, what does it mean to be unstoppable to you?
What does it mean to be unstoppable is focus on your goals, and if you can dream it, you can do it.
I love it. Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure interviewing you today. There's been some absolute real golden nuggets, and this is the first time we've had a conversation in terms of the e-commerce business model on the podcast. I'm really pleased to be able to bring this to the audience, and I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of people who are really interested in finding out more. So how can someone find out more about your work, Michael? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
They can get me on Twitter. Suppose you knew I was going to say that. That's Michael Devlin at Mass Conversion is the username. Handle name rather. You can get me on LinkedIn, where you'll find out all about my previous stuff. All my background and everything is on LinkedIn, which is Michael Devlin. Connect with me on there. And of course, I invite everybody to connect with me on Facebook, which is Michael Devlin. You'll find me. If you don't get a chance to send me a friend request, because I think I've got 4,500 friends in there, send me a direct message and I'll send you a friend request, and we can work it that way.
Great stuff. And I remember before the show, I put a note up saying that the Sons of the Amazon is probably the best named course I've ever come across, with being a big fan of the Sons of Anarchy show. So being a former motorcycler myself. So how can someone find out about the launch of that course? Is that out already? Is that something people can be taking part in?
We launched the webinar. It's a closed, pretty much an intricate webinar. There's only 200 spaces available, and we've only got 50 free spaces left, which we've reserved for people who want to jump on the webinar. We are doing a whole ton of education for free on the webinar, so I invite everybody just to join it anyway. You will get the links on my LinkedIn account. You'll get my links to join the webinar inside Twitter and also on Facebook. And of course, you can sign up for the invite once you get the links and you see them, guys. You can just jump in there and get. If you miss out on this run, then don't worry. We'll be opening up again in about 8 weeks. So Sons of Amazon, where we'll take you on a 12-month journey, and again, you can come into that course at any point and go right through the entire journey from start to finish. And I'm the only coach on Amazon that's actually jumped in, put his money where his mouth is, and started 10 products with his own students from scratch to show you how it's done.
It's been a fascinating journey listening to your story, Michael. And I think the key thing I've taken away, in terms of what your course offers is, you're road tested. You've gone there, you've been there, you've had the hard knocks, you've built the brands from scratch to 7 figures, you've sold brands. I think if someone is going to invest in a mentor, it's important to have that class of track record.
Yeah,
so
and
all
I've
the
been
links
bust twice as well, Dan, way back in the early days. So I've been there, I've done it, and I got bust twice by pushing the envelope. So I continue to push the envelope. So it's important everybody understands there's no such thing as failure. It's just learning what not to do the next time. I had 2 shots at learning what not to do. That goes to show you
Absolutely.
how much I was pushing the envelope, right?
Well, all the top entrepreneurs have been there, and it's the best. It's the best way to learn. So all the links that we've talked about today will be in the show notes to today's episode. So do check those out. I just want to thank you again for your time today, Michael. It's been an incredible interview, incredibly fascinating, and please do reach out to Michael if you have interest in this business model. There's some great stuff going on right now with the Sons of Amazon product. Sorry. So check out the show notes for all that information. And thanks again to Michael for a great
Dan,
show.
Thanks very much to you and the listeners for making me unstoppable. And best of luck to everybody, and no matter what they do.
Thank you, Michael. I want to extend my gratitude for taking the time out to be on the show. Michael has created some absolutely mind-blowing success stories on Amazon, an area which I've not personally explored from a business perspective, so I found today's show absolutely fascinating. Please do check out the show notes for all the resources mentioned during the show. Go to www.danjgregory.com/31. Coming up next week, you'll have the opportunity to learn from Mr. Reg Lenny. Reg Lenny is a world-renowned, multi-award-winning health and lifestyle coach who has a client list that looks like a list of Oscar nominees, including the likes of Halle Berry, Hugh Jackman, and Gerard Butler. Reg supports some of the most powerful world leaders, from royal families to corporate executives and Hollywood's elite, while they prepare for roles in business, in movies, TV shows, and in the boardroom, whilst also maintaining a balance in their real life. Reg is passionate about helping people to develop extraordinary levels of physical and mental performance. In next week's episode, I'm excited to share some incredible content where we discuss Reg's 10 keys to ultimate health. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, leave me an honest review, and head over to unstoppablepodcast.com for all the latest episodes. Now it's time for you to unleash your greatness, build your empire, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.